otherwise, how are you doing this evening in South Africa in Joburg?
Yeah, oh, we're good. All good here. We just had a massive hailstorm a couple of nights ago, so yeah, it's been quite interesting just experience that, just the weather phenomenon and what it does to people. Yeah.
The weather phenomenon, yeah. You guys are entering into your cold season.
Well, we actually, we're in summer now.
Oh, sorry, the warm
so, I mean,
season. Yes, always the opposite. Yes,
yeah.
the warm season.
In
Yeah.
Johannesburg. So we have these classical thunderstorms after a really hot day. It's very dramatic with a lot of lightning. So we had a very dramatic thunderstorm. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So I'm so glad you joined me this evening and daytime for other people in North America to talk about, and I called this Our Breath as a Friend so we can support others. And I wanted to invite you as one of my teachers who I've learned so much from, as based on your expertise as an integrative medical doctor, as a breathwork healer, and there's so many adjectives I want to put after the things you do with breathwork. And I wanted to invite you to talk about how can people who are really feeling a lot of empathy and they're really struggling to live their everyday lives, how can they use the breath in their lives as a way to boost what they're doing, how they're living, and how can they continue to show support and solidarity with people who are being oppressed and struggling. So it's a big topic. We'll see how we can tackle this. But I really thought to invite you as someone who I've learned so much from, and I have such deep respect, both from your knowledge of the human body and how breathing is so integral to help us in our well-being, but also just your general wisdom and understanding of humanity, as perhaps we'll talk about too. So without further ado, let's just talk about the breath. In fact, perhaps we can do a very short technique that people who are watching can try with us.
I think that's a wonderful idea. So we invite everybody who's here just to join us in taking a collective sigh. And as we do that, inviting the mind to surrender to your heart right now and to this moment, and everything else can be there, everything that you're feeling, everything that you are sensing. But just for now, can you welcome that by just placing your feet on the floor and receiving the support of the ground beneath you or the chair beneath you. Just soften for a moment to arrive in your body. Just to allow the breath to welcome you to your body, to everything that you may be feeling without judgment, just with a gentle awareness, without trying to change anything, just to gently turn your awareness to the breath and the experience of being breathed and being supported by the breath itself. To feel the rise and fall of your belly, whatever is moving, to experience the sensations of breath in the nostrils, and perhaps to expand and lengthen the inhale through the nostrils, maybe once, maybe twice, and followed with a soft sigh of relief through the mouth, as if you are blowing out a candle, and another breath in through the nose, maybe once, maybe twice, followed by a long exhale through the mouth. And just one more like this. Inhale once, inhale twice. And as you exhale, soften the back of the neck, the shoulders, soften your whole body. From here, just from this heart space, from a more embodied space, very gently come back to this collective field that we have created and opened today. Thank you. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, everybody.
That was so short, but every time I lead someone or I'm breathed, especially by you, I'm just like, that was 1 or 2 minutes, but I just feel so different. It's just amazing how the breath and being conscious of our breath can really have a transformative effect on our mental, emotional, spiritual, and other states. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Please tell me more about the idea of the breath as our friend.
Yeah. The breath is, it's life itself, and, if we had to look at any sacred text, if we had to study and examine the roots of any tradition, any religion, every one of them makes reference to the breath as life force, as a companion, as an experience of the divine. And because it is so simple, and because we don't have to think about it, we take it for granted. And yet it's always been there. It's always been there. And so when we bring our conscious awareness to something that has always been there, we immediately transform it from an unconscious function to something that can really support us, that can bring us home to the body, that can quieten the mind, that can allow us to feel, that can bring us back to our humanity and to our hearts. And is a way to self-regulate. It is just such a beautiful form of art that is always accessible to us. And we don't have to go anywhere special. We don't have to don any particular garb. We don't have to go to a particular sanctuary or a retreat. It's always available to us. And we don't even have to change it in any specific way. There are many ways to change it, and we can talk about that. But simply the awareness of it, the turning towards it, immediately changes the parts of the brain that wake up. And we immediately shift from the survival mode to a more conscious, aware mode, a place from which we can make a more conscious choice. And it is incredibly empowering to know that, And then it's a creative art form, there are ways to breathe that can energize our system, that can help us to upregulate. There are ways to breathe that calm the nervous system. There are ways to breathe that balance the system. There are ways to breathe that are cathartic and expressive. And, when we learn to work with it more skillfully, and when we understand the science behind it, then we wake up to the awe that is our human body. And, it becomes a way of living, actually. It becomes integrated in everything that we do. Often we think that breathing is a separate practice that, we have to do. And yes, we can. We can do that, of course. We can use it as a way to start our day and a way to meditate. But more than that, it is a way of living and being. It supports us to live in a way that is more heart-centered, conscious, embodied. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. So a friend, yes, a friend and a medicine and a companion and a way to connect with ourselves and others, to us as part of nature.
Yeah, thank you, Ela. I feel that, and I hear you, and I've learned so much from you. And I feel so honored to have been on this journey and to be able to actually feel what you're saying. So I wanted to invite you specifically because so many people that I know and I've been working with professionally and just friends, pretty much all of whom are just feeling the pain of Palestinians and all the human suffering around the world, in Congo and Sudan and many other places. They're really not doing well right now. Quite a few people are getting ill, and they have stress and anxiety, and they're having congestion and breathing issues. And of course, a lot of this is up here, right? A lot of anxiety and stress is up in the chest. And you taught me that, a lot of one of the reasons why we have so much anxiety, because they're not breathing well. And so I know that we can't fix things overnight, but I keep on thinking of the fact that a really simple tool people can use to deal with this anxiety, the stress that they're feeling, is the breath. And I'm feeling that people are talking about how they need to almost suffer to emphasize in a pure way with Palestinians, although Palestinians are not asking that. Palestinians are just asking people to amplify their voices, to let their needs be known. But people are really sucked into social media, into the news, and it furthers the anxiety and the stress. So could you please talk about how the breath could be a friend for people who really are experiencing extreme empathy, and it's a beautiful thing, and they're really experiencing and expressing solidarity, but it's also hurting them physically and emotionally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so challenging, Rose, and I mean, I've just been watching my own feelings and reactions over the last few weeks, and it's not like I have the answers, and I mean, I'll get to the breath in a moment, but I just really wanted to name that for the first time, I believe in human history. I mean, we've had wars throughout time, but I don't believe that at any other time humanity has been witnessed in the way that we have to the atrocities of war. And our nervous system is not wired for that. And it's really confusing because, if we're sitting here and listening to this right now, we are in the safety of our homes, we are not in immediate danger. And yet, when we are exposed to this through social media, the nervous system is receiving signals as if it's happening. And yes, we are wired for empathy. We have those mirror neurons that we feel deeply. And sometimes that can be really overwhelming. And so, we have various strategies to deal with that. Some of us are in denial. We don't want to see it, And I think it is important to be able to witness, but from a different place within ourselves. So the witnessing opens our heart to experiencing more compassion. There's anger, yes. It's important to feel that anger, but it is also important to channel and express that anger in a way that is not harmful. Many of us move into a space of polarization, even further polarization, and we want to, we go into blame and judgment and criticism, and with that comes an inability to see the bigger picture. All of these reactions are normal. Some of us, just want to avoid and distract. Some of us go into the headspace of, conspiracy theories or whatever, and all of those reactions are really normal. And we go through phases of our feelings, helplessness and despair, and all of these feelings are normal. And I think we need to have compassion for our full range of feelings and the phases that we go through. But what you're saying is so important. We need to be aware of the impact that this is having on us unconsciously. And I think all of us need to take responsibility for rather, being aware of maybe what is happening within us and to support ourselves so that we can hold this from a different place, so that we can stay open-hearted and compassionate, so that we can stay really present and hold a field of healing. And the breath is a really powerful way to do that. So, simple breath awareness, when we become aware of the breath, without even needing to change it in any way, we start to come alive to the sensations the body may be experiencing, patterns of tension that we might unconsciously be holding. We become more aware of what the body is communicating to us. Are we holding patterns of stress at the back of the neck, in the jaw? Are we breathing high up in the chest? So every thought that we think, every emotion that we experience, everything that we are exposed to through social media has a corresponding breathing pattern. Something happens to our breath with everything that we are observing. We hold our breath, we overbreathe, we develop a pattern of breathing. And the more we expose to that, that breathing pattern becomes locked and becomes our default way of breathing without us realizing it. So over time, we start to unconsciously, habitually breathe with the accessory muscles of the neck and the shoulders, and the diaphragm, which is our main breathing muscle, becomes weakened. And just through that pattern of breathing, we feel even more stressed and anxious. So the breath is a language, and it works both ways. It's a two-way communication system. So if our breath is habitually patterned in that way, and our diaphragm has become weakened, and we are not engaging the diaphragm, we are constantly sending further messages of stress to the brain, and just becomes a vicious cycle, you know. And over time, that impacts everything. It impacts our immune system, it impacts our sleep, it impacts our digestive system. Every system is impacted, you know, and that leads to burnout. It just leads to just a continuous kind of locked pattern of stress and anxiety. At the same time, we can break that pattern through becoming more aware of the breath and learning to use it to shift our baseline so that we are operating from a different place. That we are, when we are noticing that we are developing these stress patterns, we can self-regulate. We can notice that and take action or make a conscious choice to self-regulate, to just disconnect from what may be triggering our reaction, to connect with ourselves again, to find sources of support or whatever that may mean.
Right. So a lot of people nowadays are glued to their phones, their screens, so they can watch live. I mean, like you had mentioned, we've never experienced watching these kinds of brutal acts of violence, this genocide, live streaming. It's really horrific to see what's happening, and also for the people watching. Of course, if you're watching, it's not the same thing, but it's easier to sit in your phone and observe that. It's harder to sit and observe yourself, right? I think a lot of people are escaping into their screens. It's much easier. Why is it? We're all breathing. Why is it just so hard to just go into ourselves and escape within ourselves and just focus on simple breath awareness? Why do so many people struggle?
Well, it's the way the nervous system is wired, actually. So, you know, we take in information all the time from our environment, from our five senses and what we're observing. And so the brain doesn't know the difference between something that we're looking at and actually something that we're experiencing. So if we are constantly receiving these really horrific images and videos, our brain is processing it as if we are there. And so we are in complete survival mode. When we're in survival mode, it's really difficult to start sensing what is happening inside, to start tuning into, you know, what I'm feeling. We are releasing adrenaline. The body is receiving a danger signal. This is releasing adrenaline from the system. You know, the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, is getting us ready for action to keep us safe, to run away, to hide, to do, you know, this is what is happening within our nervous system. So in those moments, it's really difficult to tune in. And I think once we understand how the nervous system is designed and how it's wired, that it's difficult to turn inwards when we are, you know, consuming this really horrific information and visuals through social media. When we can understand that, then we can make more conscious choices, saying, okay, even when we are engaging with it, we can turn to the breath and we can witness from a deeper place. We can consciously breathe. And then we can consciously say, okay, I've witnessed and I'm ending it now, and I'm sending love and compassion, and healing, you know. And at the same time, I'm noticing what is happening to me. I'm noticing my pain, and I'm noticing my heartbreak, and I can hold all of that. I can hold all of that with compassion, and I can hold it with my breath. And my breath in this moment is my support. The breath in this moment is my anchor. The breath in this moment is my connection with whatever I believe in as my strength. You know, I can send a breath as a prayer with my intention for this person that I'm witnessing suffering right now. So how do we use our witnessing to keep our hearts open, to connect with a deeper sense of compassion? And I think that this is our invitation right now, is to create fields of healing with compassionate witnessing.
You talk more about that. I love how you said the breath as a prayer, as a place of witnessing. Can you expand more? I really want to like feel into that. It's such a poetic term, but it feels like I'm feeling it inside. Please just tell me more. What that feels like to you, what that looks like.
When I'm feeling and I'm seeing and witnessing the pain, the heartbreak, the fear, I can feel that in this moment we all share the same breath. We are all drawing from the same breath. And even those who have become breath, I can connect with and support. And so we share this ocean of breath, all of humanity. And as I'm witnessing, I can feel into where I'm holding sensations in my body and where my heart feels like it's opening, breaking open. And from this place, I can deepen my inhale. And with the exhale, I can send a prayer. Every exhale has touched every single cell of my body. And I'm connecting that exhale with an intention of healing, with a prayer, and I'm sending it to this person who I know is experiencing pain right now, with the feeling or the idea that they are taking the next breath, receiving that.
I felt that. I didn't just hear that, I felt that. That just like I was breathing with you and feeling that. What I'm hearing is that if we intentionally, consciously breathe, when we actually pay attention to our breath, it also just helps us feel the humanity of everyone, beyond the sides, right? There's always sides in this struggle, but everyone has the exact same breath. There's no difference between any of our breaths.
The breath is the language of our humanity.
Yeah.
You know, and I just, it's such a powerful idea. And, you know, when we experienced COVID, it was like a collective crossroads moment. Mm-hmm. And it stopped us in our tracks, and it made us appreciate our breath more, turn towards our breath more, come alive to the breath more, take it less for granted, you know. And we realized in that moment that we all share the same breath. And for some of us, that was scary. The idea that we share the same breath is scary. But we share the same ocean of breath. You know, we breathe in the same molecules of breath that was breathed by every person who walked the face of this planet. You know, and in that way we are deeply connected. And we forget that.
Yeah.
We forget that. And so in times like this, it's so easy to polarize even more. And of course, This is not saying that we don't stand for human rights. It's not saying that we don't passionately and vehemently call for a ceasefire. Doesn't mean that. At the same time, how do we hold a field of healing within ourselves? How do we create these fields of healing within ourselves? Where is the conflict that we are holding within ourselves? You know, where is the conflict that we are experiencing within our own families and our own relationships? Can we create the fields of healing within our own environments, which then coalesce, you know, every single person that we interact with? Can that be a healing interaction? Can what we are witnessing now make us even more committed to living a life with more compassion? And spreading that within our circles of influence. Every single one of us has a circle of influence. And when we can deeply commit to living our life with compassion, with awareness, compassion for ourselves, firstly, and noticing when we want to polarize, when we are not understanding the other's perspective. You know, how do we start to live this? Yes, we are feeling helpless, and we feel helpless for what is happening in Palestine right now. And it feels like whatever we do here is not having an impact, but it does. It does. And I think it's important that we honor the very intense feelings that we have right now, and to feel that in some way we are contributing. And even if that is witnessing, even if it is just sending an intentional breath, even if it is creating this kind of platform like you are doing right now, even if it is just calling our community together to breathe together, whatever that may mean for you, whatever that is meaningful for you, whether that's making art or writing or, you know, sharing a compassionate and loving post that supports healing on social media. Like, we all have circles of influence. And how can we use them in a way that supports healing?
Yeah. Wow. I'm really feeling this whole conversation within me and not just intellectually, as you've taught me, actually. Thank you, Ela. And you also remind me that actually in Arabic, the language of Palestinians, the word for the breath is nafs, which also means soul, which I'm just like, it just really resonating right now, of the idea that the nafs, it's so important in even the Islamic tradition and in the Arabic language, the idea of nafs, the breath and the soul, it's all connected. And by just the simple act, you know, I love how you're talking about the simple act. We don't need to do, we can't save the world, but we start with a simple act of observing our breath, our nefis, observing our soul at the same time. And from there, it enables us to have compassion, to have empathy, to feel the humanity of others. And so that allows us to better be within ourselves, to experience all the emotions, including the sadness and the grief and the anger and all the negative and the positive emotions, so that we can keep on doing the work. If someone is an activist, if someone is a policymaker, whatever they're doing, we need to start within. And I think we all know that, but it's a very practical step that you're giving us that I really appreciate, is just observe our souls, our breath, and be a little bit quiet so that we can go outside and do the good work.
Absolutely, absolutely, Rose. That's really beautifully put.
Yeah, well, I'm going to thank you so much, Ela, for this really enlightening conversation. I hope that others have benefited. I saw there's some beautiful comments and in the chat along the way. And wow, I'm going to go and do some conscious breathing after this. And I encourage everyone listening and watching now or at a later time, try being a little bit quiet, observing yourself and seeing what comes out of that. do you have any last words you want to share with us as we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you for this platform and for sharing the breath. And yeah, I think it's even more important right now that we start with the most simple thing. You know, start close in. This is from one of my favorite poems. Start close in.
Yeah.
Right here, right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we radiate those circles of healing,
Yeah.
and they coalesce,
Yeah.
and it becomes a field of healing that holds all of us. Thank you so much, Rose. Thank you,
Thank you
everybody.
so much. Good night, everyone, or good afternoon. Bye.